Hi, this is Chris Simon, and honestly, this is take two on this assignment for me. My last run time for the video took 26 minutes, and I just can't do that to you all. So I'm going to move quicker. I'm going to condense some of my points that I repeated, but this is my community, Module 4, Understanding My Community, Tonganoxie Elementary by Chris Simon. Our customs and traditions. I would say the biggest custom that this town has is their support for the Leavenworth County Fair. It is the largest event that takes place in this community. It happens at the end of the summer, and even though it is the Leavenworth County Fair, Tonganoxie really identifies it takes place in Tonganoxie, and Tonganoxie claims it as their main event for the year. It's a very large agricultural community, so a lot of the students participate in 4-H, so they get to bring their cows, their chickens, their sheep, their pigs, and they get to show them to the community. It's a lot of fun. The football here, like many communities, football is king. We have a support system that takes place from second grade all the way up to sixth grade called the Tonganoxie Club Teams. Each grade is represented, and they actually had their very first practice for it last night, and it is just a massive event. Parents were crowding the track like it was a high school reunion, which for a lot of them it kind of was. They have a Halloween celebration here in town called Spooktacular that attracts all the local children. They show up in their Halloween costumes. They get as much candy as they can. The adults stand in the middle of the downtown area, let the kids circle the whole thing. And again, it's like a big community event. We have a big football homecoming turnout that always shows up each year. The Worlds of Fun event that happens for a lot of students in the Kansas City area, where the eighth graders get to go to Worlds of Fun for a day, is a big tradition here. We have the elementary fun run phase fundraiser at the end of the year, which is a big community event as well. Our population is a growing population where most of the parents here are employed outside of our town. We do not have many businesses in town. Majority of the people that work here live or work in either Kansas City or Lawrence, but live here, which is the big draw for our town. It's close enough to both Lawrence and Kansas City that you can commute, but not so close that you get the big town feel. We're still a very small town feel. We have a very massive student population in one building at our elementary school. We have 900 students. When I was hired 4 years ago, they told me it was the largest elementary school in the state. So that could have changed since then. But at the time, we were very big, and it feels very, very big. We have a very, relative to our school size, low minority population. I go into the Census Bureau breakdown of that later on. There's a large agricultural section of our population where many students have farm experience. There's a wide range in our age breakdown where there is still a lot of the old Tongi versus new Tongi. New Tongi would be people that are moving in from Kansas City or Lawrence areas, but the old Tongi would be people who are local to here and have lived here their whole lives. And so there's very much a old versus new mentality that takes place in our town and has caused some issues. A majority of our population is working class with a pretty even split between our college and trade education jobs. So that's pretty much the breakdown, where there's a pretty even split between the blue and white collar jobs that take place. We have a very highly religious community. I imagine very similar to a lot of smaller town communities. The churches are the largest buildings and the largest gathering spaces for our community. Our communication channels, we have a very large social media presence in this town. Several community-based channels include, we even have some for negative things. We have a locally famous channel on Facebook called Tongi Rant and Rave, where people can go and give all their complaints to the town. The local paper is still pretty popular, mostly for sports, so people will gather that or collect that for their children's sporting events. The Recreation Commission has a very popular website where they get to list all of their activities that they have coming up for the community. They also have a Twitter feed to talk about all the upcoming events. The businesses in our community usually communicate through Facebook pages. We personally, my wife and I, own the local vet clinic here. We're one of the larger businesses, I would say, in our community. We do have our own website, but most of our feedback from from the clients have been to our Facebook page. The school communicates through our website. We do have a Twitter feed that is pretty active. We also have grade level Twitter feeds, which I think I mentioned in a previous video. We have the mass email system and then our mass text communication system, which has had a little bit of some drama in our recent past where we've had some complaints from parents that or some people have been sending out text messages that weren't really appropriate for emergency broadcasting system. And so we actually this last year had to hire a communications director that filters all of the information that goes to those feeds. The community groups. We have at our school a parent teacher committee, or the PTC, as the primary organization for the elementary. I would say that it's pretty underpopulated due to our based on our size. There are a few factors that take place in that. There have been some dramatic issues that have taken place with some of the parents that have left the parent-teacher committee and joined our next group, which is the Tonganoxie Education Foundation, which services all the schools. And so those two groups have kind of been in contention with each other over the last few years because of some social issues. Tonganoxie Recreation Commission is a big community event or a big community host for all of our sporting and community activities. The Tonganoxie Brave Sports Group, which I talked about earlier, supports all the football for our community. Various church youth groups are very supportive. West Haven provides all our volunteers for our school events. Cornerstone provides a lot of good community events, and the Christian Church provides our youth basketball program for the summer, or for the winter, sorry. We have a lot of ag groups, a very large 4-H group, and the Leavenworth County Fair Board is also a big community group. It's kind of a very political and / honor to be a part of that community group. Our leadership in our community is our school board. I would say that our school board wields a very large amount of power based on our schools being the main focal point for our community. The group that gets to govern the schools also governs a lot of the things that happen in our community. We have a lot of local business owners that provide support for the community. We have the Small Business Association that my business is also a part of, the Tonganoxie Education Foundation, the Leavenworth County Fair Board, the Tonganoxie Chamber of Commerce has been working a lot recently to try to bring in new businesses. We have the Church Youth Group Council, which provides a lot of decisions for middle school and high school students. We have a low number of businesses in our town. Most are employed either in Kansas City and Lawrence, and I think that plays a big factor in it. It's a bedroom community where a lot of people do not want a lot of large businesses to come into this town. They want to keep it as a small community feel where people live but don't have to deal with a big city. We have recently had the Hills dog food plant that has moved in, which is, again, like I mentioned, we're a community that has been extremely resistant to large businesses in the past. The growing median income in our town has been due to people moving into the town from Kansas City, where the income is higher, and then they move to our town to get more land and build higher houses. So as a business owner in town, that is a good thing for us, but it also can cause some social issues. There's probably 10 local businesses that are the main sponsors for all of the school sports teams and the school events. The political structure of our town, our mayor is local. He's a local native to Tonganoxie. We have a city council. Our school board, which, as I mentioned, is probably a little more powerful than some school boards. The Leavenworth County Fair Board is also something that's kind of unique to this community, where they are really a pretty powerful group because the Leavenworth County Fair is such a big factor in this community. The PTC board, the Tonganoxie Education Foundation board, and school administration and our superintendents have probably more political aspects to them than maybe your average group. There have been quite a few social tensions that we've had. As I mentioned previously, there is some social issues that took place between our PTC and our Tonganoxie Education Foundation, which is down here at the bottom. The anti-masking groups that happened during COVID, I'm sure were not unique to Tonganoxie, but caused a lot of social tensions in our schools. The small Catholic school, as an alternative to our public school, has sometimes caused some tension. The Tongi rant and rave, anytime you get people going to social media to show how frustrated they are, it's often a place for tensions. This is the big one that I think is really unique to Tonganoxie, and honestly not probably in a good way. In 2017, there was an initiative called No Tyson and Tongi. Tyson Chicken Corporation was trying to come in and put a Tyson price chicken processing plant in Tonganoxie. It was completely approved by the Chamber of Commerce. They had signed all the papers. They had offered financial incentives, and Tyson was coming here. But the No Tyson and Tongi group grabbed a massive following in the town, where the town tried to block it, and they were successful. And honestly, it has created some issues for businesses in our future, because there are still a lot of people that hold on to that as part of their identity. They came together as a community, and what in their mind protected the community. And so now anytime any business tries to come in, there is still that mindset. And a lot of the businesses also are familiar with what happened in Tonganoxie, and so bypass us completely when they start looking for sites to build. And also the Tonganoxie Brave Sports Group, which is not affiliated with any board or council. It is just run by parents. And so whenever there are not rules set in place for how to run such a large group, there are a lot of issues. And so there have been many social tensions and issues that have taken place because of that. So I mentioned earlier the previous community efforts of the No Tyson and Tongi, which I won't have to explain again. But the more positive one, I feel, was the Tongi Strong, which was the high school bond issue that passed and got a beautiful new high school built. And also the Tonganoxie high school gym expansion also took place in addition to that. The Tongi Strong was such a positive aspect of the high school community. They were able to kind of piggyback onto that to get an additional bond passed for their high school gym expansion. The new public library happened about the same time as that, so there were some really positive things that happened there. The Tonganoxie elementary playground remodel just got passed this last year, and so we're really excited about that at the elementary school. And the Tonganoxie Recreation Commission has a brand new location and a recent remodel to one of the old high school buildings, and it looks great. The superintendent is very closely tied to his administration, so that creates a weird power dynamic there, and they often are sort of at opposition to our school board. The small businesses that do participate in sponsorships often wield a little bit more power than other businesses. The Small Business Association sometimes tries to influence business decisions, so there's this power dynamic between the small businesses and the Small Business Association. We have a new building principal this year, which is actually our previous vice principal. It was kind of an awkward transition because the existing principal didn't leave by choice. And because of the awkward transition, our new vice principal is bringing in brand new vice principals that are all out of district hires. The Census Bureau information of Tonganoxie, our most recent data, shows that we are 85% white, 10% Hispanic, and 11% multiracial. So there's a very low racial diversity in the town. I would say that the school is very reflective of that census information as well. There was a racial component to the No Tyson and Tongi as well, which was kind of the uglier part of it, where there was a rumor about a lot of immigrants being brought in to the area, and people felt very strongly about that. And so there was kind of some ugly racial components to it as well. We have a Native American as a mascot for all three of our buildings, but a 0.0% Native American population in our community, which has also caused some issues as well. The school does encourage cultural experiences, but there has been a relatively low amount of exposure inside the building. We do have access to some good resources. We're close to Lawrence, which has Haskell University and provides a lot of free Native American cultural experiences as well. And there's a broad number of opportunities that can take place in Kansas City as well. There is a waning support in our elementary, I would say, over the last couple of years. I think the new administrator is a reflection of that. There have been some conflicts between the PTC and the Tonganoxie Education Foundation, where a large portion of the parents moved from one group to the other. So that being said, the support for our high school and middle schools is very strong. The high school has a brand new facility. It feels like they're really doing a lot of positive things. Middle school has very low staff turnover. Anytime there is an available spot at the middle school, it is almost always filled by a in-district transfer. And obviously, like most districts, there were a lot of issues happening between parents and schools. In the community during COVID, we had a few semi-embarrassing issues that happened where parents were reporting us to the local news outlets, and we ended up on the news for some rumors that were happening based on some things, and it was largely based on miscommunications. So the weakest section from my bulleted list was the economic conditions. I felt like it was weakest because the community strongly identifies as a bedroom community, so they do not want a lot of businesses in the town. They have a history of blocking large businesses from coming out in, and also some of the business association activities have also caused some negative aspects of owning a business in Tonganoxie. So some ways that I think we could improve that would be to invite businesses to partner with the school from nearby communities instead of just ones inside, build a strong relationship with the New Hills factory that is really trying to build community ties. And also, as a business owner in this town, I could increase my involvement with the schools and really publicize that more to try to encourage other businesses to do the same. And so here were my personal analysis of this. The biggest things I took from this was that I felt like it was really important to analyze your own community and to see how you can improve it. But I also felt like I noticed some of the more negative biases I hold towards the community that I live in and I'm raising my children in. And so rather than being critical of the past, I think I need to try to work towards influencing the future and using the leadership opportunities I have to try to move it in a more positive direction. Here were the resources that I used, and thank you very much.